Welcome back to Tea Time Pod and now Kickaball Pod. Excited to announce that I'll be joining Danny, Julio, and Malcolm in this new project, and we got a lot of stuff lined up. Tonight we got my head coach here, Tony Martone, and you always talk about having the best guys you can get in the soccer world, and I've been fortunate enough to be coached by Tony Martone for the past year, and there's a lot he's done in his career and a lot he's still left to do. And it's an honor to be here with Tony Martone. Coach, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here and share some thoughts with you.
Thank you. Coach, I want to start in 1980. In the midst of your Boston Collegiate playing career, BC grad of 1981, you were invited to train with the U.S. Avellino first division team in Italy. I think now the third division, but back then they were first division. Talk about your experiences there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me, it was a dream. As you may or may not know, I was born in Italy and came to this country at the age of 10. But by the time soccer was already a huge part of me. I used to go to church on Sundays, go to school because my parents made me do it, and the rest of the time I spent playing soccer. And like most Italian kids, you grew up with a dream of playing professional soccer. And from my end, 1979-80 was really some bittersweet sweet time. I was scouted playing in a game in my town while I was visiting family, and had the opportunity to, I was invited to a training camp, the following summer. And at that time, Avellino was in the second division. By the time I got there, they moved up to the first division. And really, it was a tremendous experience for me. We had 6-7 players that ended up going on to play for the Italian national team. And bigger clubs like Juventus, Milan, Roma, Lazio. Actually, my roommate, Nando De Napoli, played behind Maradona for about 3-4 years, and actually played in the 1986 World Cup. So it was really a special group. So for me, I was in heaven. I was offered a contract which would have put me on loan for a year to a third division team, Salernitana, and to see if I belonged at that level or not. And unfortunately, 2 weeks later, serious injury pretty much ended the dream. Came back to the U.S., finished my degree, and ironically, I was playing in a semi-pro game, and a friend mentioned that the head coach at Curry College, a friend of his, was looking for an assistant and asked if I was interested. So at the age of 23, I became an assistant coach, and the following year, the job at Merrimack opened up, and I was lucky enough to be offered the job. And 43 years later, here I am.
So finishing off college in 81. You will go on to coach at Curry for 1 year. My brother played there, by the way, 4 years at Curry College. Random connection. But now you're assistant coach at Curry for 1 year at 23. And then I just want to highlight, was there any sort of pressure at 24 years old becoming the head coach, at the youngest coach at the time in the country at Merrimack?
Lots of pressure. Quite honestly, I didn't think I was even going to be offered the job, but I was actually working at a summer camp in Connecticut for the Curry College coach, and one of the coaches there was familiar with the situation at Merrimack, and says, you should throw your hat in the in the mix and see what happens, and I did. So I was hired literally the middle of July, so I had no opportunity to recruit. Back in those days, the landscape was totally different. In terms of recruiting, it was mostly local guys. But what I remember the most is that I showed up to preseason, and we had 10 players, report to preseason. Most of them were out of shape. A couple of them were probably drunk from the night before, leaving the family and friends. It was an interesting first couple of years, very frustrating because obviously the passion wasn't there, the talent wasn't there. But I sucked it up and worked hard and things started improving year by year, and eventually we became a highly competitive team in Division Two in New England and the NE10 as well as nationally.
Yeah. It's interesting you talk about the NE10 just now. I feel like back then in 90 and 80 in 81 or 82 when you started coaching here, the game was, I want to say, different from how it is today. So, like, how would you say, like, the biggest difference is from today's game that you're coaching now, recruiting-wise, players-wise, is just, like, has taken off from when you started coaching?
Yeah, so back in those days, you had a totally different type of player, different type of athlete. Today's athlete is head and shoulders better than the athlete back in 1982. But the players back in those days had really a mentality a little bit different than today's player. For them, it was, basically do whatever it takes, to win games, whether it was skillful or not skillful, if you have to go through a wall, you have to play with a broken leg or, things of that sort, players back then were willing to do that, but obviously the game has evolved and it's changed. Tactically, there's a lot more that we do these days, and the reason we do it is because we have better athletes, better players, better soccer players. Obviously, to introduce more tactics, you have to have players that are technically sound, because if they're not, then there's no sense of introducing, high-level type of tactics, but that has changed. And generally speaking, it's a much better player, a player that also spends more time playing the game. Back in those days, club didn't exist. It was basically town soccer, high school, and that was pretty much it. So.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny how you were at 24 head coach here, and then I'm looking back in the fall. Some of our guys like Tommy, Carlo were like the same age on the team. So it's very, very interesting. Now jumping a little bit ahead to, I want to say the biggest year of your life. Honestly, I want to say 1994. You were recognized by New England Soccer Journal as person who did most for soccer, which is like insane to think about. Talk about why 1994 was a big year in your life.
Yeah, I mean it was a special year. I actually I literally had 4 jobs for about a year and a half. So I was coaching Merrimack, obviously. I was coaching a USL team, the Cape Cod Crusaders, a team that I actually was hired to start from scratch. So I was coach, general manager, and we did very well with that team. We made the playoffs every year. I also owned an indoor soccer facility. You may not even know this, but I actually, along with my college coach at BC and a couple of other guys back in '83, we opened the very first indoor soccer facility in the country, which I took over on my own in '83, '84, and I actually ran it for about 30 years with some help from family and some lots of good employees, people that love the game. But anyways, and then I was asked to be the director of competition for the World Cup, which was absolutely amazing. Really an experience of a lifetime. My responsibility pretty much were everything that had to do with the teams that were here in Boston. From airport arrival, to hotels, to training sites, and game days. I put the games on. We had Argentina here. So I developed a very close relationship with Diego Maradona, which was absolutely amazing. Still have some gifts that he left me. God rest his soul. That I cherish and. Very proud to have been associated with the whole team. I mean, it was an amazing team. We also had Nigeria, we had Greece, we had South Korea that we hosted here on campus. Not sure if you knew that, but through my connections, I was able to convince FIFA to build us a new field here on campus. At the time, it was the best field in the country, probably one of the very best.
Is it grass?
Oh, absolutely, it has to be grass. Yeah, it has to be grass. I mean, 3/4 of an inch. Basically a carpet. So really that was just an amazing experience. And then obviously being Italian, a huge fan of the Italian national team. As it happened, they lost the game to Ireland in New York, which put them second in their group, which basically meant that they played the round of 16 and the round of 8 here in Boston. So I got to hang out with the Italian national team for a couple of weeks. Pretty much was a training every day. Watching, observing, interacting. Had dinner. All the fun stuff that goes on.
That's amazing. It's funny. The last guy I interviewed last week was able to train when the last Copa America in 2018. It was here in the U.S. He trained with Messi in the Argentinian team at Gillette. He played for the Revolution, Peggy and Gotcha. And he talked about the same experiences as you did. They were there for getting ready for the Copa America. And he was telling me stories about how these guys were told literally, like, don't touch Messi, don't touch these guys. Like, play defense, play hard, but kind of like shadow defend. Do not hurt these guys. If you guys hurt these guys, you guys are screwed. So, like, it's nice how these teams come here and they're able to give some of us some experiences that guys will cherish for a lifetime. But I just want to talk a little bit about your time just observing these teams. You were obviously on the field firsthand watching the best in the world play. What was like the biggest difference that shocked you in terms of like something you hadn't seen before in terms of the way they played?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I would say I was shocked because I pretty much knew what to expect. But it was more like confirmation of what I thought, I would say. So just to give you an example, I was actually telling this to Coach Miko a few days back. I was watching Argentina train one day, and at the end of practice, they were working on corner kicks and finishing. No pressure, no defenders. Just guys going in 2 at a time, and literally driven balls. Perfect location for guys coming into head balls and guys snapping balls. Top corner, time after time after time, as if it was like very routine. So the level of technical ability. I also had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with Caniggia, one of the Argentinian, one of the best players who came in injured. And interestingly, we brought him to a lab in Cambridge, to test how far along he was, with his rehab to see if he could play. And I'll never forget the gentleman that tested him. He said, "This guy is like the combination of an athlete that I've never seen. He has the endurance of a cyclist, the speed of a top track star." And obviously he knew about his soccer abilities, so he was absolutely in awe, the quality of the athlete as well as, the overall ability. And when you put 11 of these guys together, you have some wonderful stuff that happens on the soccer field.
Yeah, that's why you always talk about in training now. Like, you always get mad at us when we're going through finishing drills and like we're missing headers, we're not putting the ball where it needs to be with a zero pressure. Because I feel like when you see that repetition from the best doing the world, it's possible. I mean, obviously, maybe not at that level we can do it at, but it's something that you can work on, and definitely with no pressure, something you gotta just hone down. But moving forward a little bit, just over 10 years after that, in 1994, you working there, you were inducted into the Mass Senior Soccer Hall of Fame in 2005. What was that like for you and your family, and how was that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a special time, obviously. it's obviously we're all humans, and it's nice to be recognized, for all the hard work, the effort, the passion that you have for the game. It was it was a special time for sure. But quite honestly, it's whether that happened or not, it doesn't really change. Who I am, what I do, what my passion is, and really what my goal really has been. For most of my life. When I came to the United States at the age of 10, many years ago, soccer wasn't really a big sport here. There was a few amateur leagues, for older guys. I started playing with my older brother in men's leagues at the age of 13. But really, there was no structure. There was no, there's no town soccer, no clubs, no nothing. So I started playing baseball. I started playing, basketball. Kick for the football team. Even taught myself how to skate, although I wasn't very good at it. But having the passion and not seeing the sport at the level that I was accustomed to seeing, I kind of made a promise to myself that I was going to do as much as I possibly could and possibly still can to help the sport really continue to develop. And when the day comes when I finally hang them up, I just hope to be able to look back and be able to say that, hey, you know what, I did make a little bit of a difference, and I did do a little bit of my part to help this game, the beautiful game as we call it, continue to grow and get to the highest levels where hopefully at some point we'll win a World Cup. That's the ultimate goal.
And speaking of the World Cup really quickly, any chance you work as a competition coordinator again for 2026 here?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not? All right.
I've been approached about getting involved. Next, when the World Cup happens next year, I'll be 69. The amount of time, energy, effort, that you have to be able to put in to do the job right, I don't think I have anymore. Plus, to be honest with you, I'm not sure that I can duplicate, the experience of '94. I mean, some of the crazy things that happened. One day, I hope to include a lot of those things in a chapter of a book that I'm hoping to write. When I start having some time. But as I've told a few people that have reached out, told them I'm going to buy my tickets. Hopefully, I'm going to follow Italy, assuming that we make it this time around, and really just have some fun this time around.
Now I want to talk about your experiences with the New England Revolution. I hadn't known this before, but you worked as a head scout for them for years. What was your roles and duties with them, and how long did you work there?
Yeah, so actually, probably not a well-known fact, but I was one of 4 finalists for the head coaching job, the very first head coaching job back in 1995, I want to say. The general manager at the time, a gentleman by the name of Brian O'Donovan, who unfortunately recently passed away, we had a real good relationship, and he was obviously aware of my background, my abilities, and so we went through a series of interviews, and came down to myself and 3 other gentlemen, including Frank Stapleton, who played in the English Premier and ended up getting the job. At the time, Brian offered me the assistant coach's position, which I really had no interest in. So I passed on that, but they asked me to basically stay on and do scouting for them. So I ran a bunch of combines actually for MLS, before all the teams started playing. That summer I spent doing several combines in different parts of the the country, just looking for some talent for them to sign, and then I stayed on for for a few years as a scout, and eventually I moved on. Primarily, did not have the same vision as the 3rd or the 4th coach that came in, to coach the team, and that's pretty much when I started. When I kind of went a little bit of a separate way.
Was that like a moment? Was there a moment in your time here that you felt like, obviously with the experiences you had here, coaching here, and maybe after 30 seasons, 25 seasons, you could obviously taken the pro route, looked into coaching overseas, not just here. Is there a time you ever considered resigning from Merrimack and taking that route?
Yeah, actually, obviously there's been many opportunities that come and gone. I actually coached, professionally here in the U.S. I coached the Boston Bolts in the old American Soccer League back in the mid '80s. I started the Crusaders from scratch, which at the time the USL was the highest professional league in the country. This is before MLS came along. Had opportunities to to go to places such as Red Star Belgrade. Offered jobs in China, Saudi Arabia, to work with the Saudi Arabian Air Force team, believe it or not. So there's been a lot of opportunities, as well as some lower division Italian teams. But really, the biggest thing, the biggest difference, and for me, the biggest thing that I miss from coaching a professional team is the fact that there's a lot more tactics involved. You don't have to worry about developing a player's left foot or right foot, or his first touch or second touch or whatever. So it becomes, so it's more of a chess game, and that's the part that I miss. Which at our level, unfortunately, because of the level of the players, and this is not to be demeaning to college players, but the level of the players we have, you really can't push high level tactical stuff on them, because it's just going to make it worse. So you have to be able to sit back and figure out how what's the best way to work with the young men that we have in our program. And so that's the part that I miss. I definitely do not miss the business side of the game. I remember with the Bolts, we had some players that unfortunately the owners put in a lot of bonus type of structure in their contract. So I might have a player that needed to play in a game or score a goal or whatever the case might be to meet a certain level, so he get a bonus. And if I have him sitting on the bench, obviously he's not a happy camper. So dealing with that type of stuff, the business side of it, that I don't miss.
Yeah, and speaking about what's keeping you at Merrimack for so long, coaching here and working here, I want to say part of it has to do with something that came in 2011 when our field now was named after you and the women's coach, Gabe Mihail. That must have been a special moment for you. And what was that like when the school told you that they were going to do that for you?
Yeah. So the first thing I told President Hopi, I said, they usually name fields after people after they're dead. So I said, do you have plans for me? You plan to dig a hole in the side here, but that was it was pretty special, obviously, to be recognized, for all the years and hard work, and but again, that's only a byproduct. And again, I wouldn't change a thing. To answer your question as to what keeps me here is guys like yourself. The reason for me that I've stayed in the college game is that it allows me to work doing what I love doing, and that's put on a pair of shorts and a T-shirt and be on a soccer field most of the time. Although the administrative part is getting worse and worse, but the reality is just being on the field and teaching and coaching and doing the stuff that I love doing is a big part of it. But the unique part of the college experience of being a college coach, which is very important to me and very dear to my heart, is that it gives me the opportunity to hopefully make a difference in my players' lives as human beings, not just as soccer players. For me, helping you guys be the best soccer players that you can be, at least on paper, should be the easy part, right? But really, for me, it's so rewarding, to have someone in the program for 4 years, and the worst time for me is really senior day, at the end of the game, when you know that you have some guys that you've been very close with, develop, a great relationship, hopefully, not necessarily as coach player, but as human beings, and they're not going to be there anymore. And obviously graduation is another special time. So really for me, it's just as important, if not more important, to potentially have, a parent, a player, come to me after 4 years and say, "Hey, Coach, thanks for helping me become a better person and helping me, get ready for the real world that's out there waiting for me." And hopefully that relation that develops over the 4 years really lasts a lifetime.
Yeah. Now talking about more recent success you've had in the NE10, you've had 4 regular season championships and 3 tourney championships. We have a big banner in the locker room of what years in the locker room? Is that 20?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many championships we won. I mean, it's it's what's in the past is in the past. But really, I want to focus on what we can do tomorrow.
Yeah.
What we can do special tomorrow. Something that myself and the rest of you guys and the athletic department, the college, can be proud of and say, hey, the men's soccer team left a great mark in 2025, hopefully, right?
Yeah. And I feel like you can't have tomorrow with what happened, I think 5 years ago when we transitioned D1. And going from a D2 program to D1, I know that first year you guys were killing it that year. Like you said, it's the past, but you still went undefeated in the conference, beat teams like Northeastern, BU that year, and had some big draws. I forget who you guys draw that year. But anyway, that was a big year for us to transition to D1. What, for you, was the biggest thing in terms of us transitioning to a D1 program and you having to change what you were doing before from being a D2 program to what you're doing now? Or is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, the level of play in the NE10 and D2 is pretty high. It's not necessarily across the board, but there are some very, very good teams. And I like to think that, we were one of them. So in terms of the transition, I mean, quite honestly, the way I looked at it, I knew we'd be playing against better teams, consistently better teams. We'd be playing against teams that are made up with better players, technical, physical, tactical qualities, across the board. So it was a little bit of a challenge, of course, but for me, I love a challenge. I love a challenge. They're talking about this 40, this new 40 somewhat college conference, that might be breaking away from the NCAAs. If it was up to me, I'd be the first team signing up for it. It's love the challenge. Love the, and I think it's important that I also want to challenge my players to be the best they can be. If you just walk through, some games, and in the old days, we used to have some teams that I used to hate to play because I know the guys would not get up, and we probably would still win by 7 goals, so that wasn't fun. I want to be challenged every game. I want you guys to be challenged every game. So really, from that perspective, I was very excited. But the transition, was fairly smooth. I mean, we did what no other team that's transitioned from a lower division into D1 has ever done in the history of men's soccer, and that's to not only to win the conference, but to go undefeated. No one has ever done that, and who knows if and when anyone will ever do it. So that's something that that is very special, and it was also the very first championship in Division I for the college. So that's it's pretty special, that it was our program that was able to do that.
Yeah. And looking ahead to like next year and more years to come, I feel like players that are coming in. I know myself. What attracted me to come here was just the schedule that we have in terms of. I know for a fact you tell us all the time you want us to play the best. You're never shying away from. We're a small school. Let's just play some local small schools. Let's not go play BC, Northeastern. I think you want to play those schools, which is something that really attracted me when I was doing the recruiting process. So looking ahead to next year, our schedule is not like fully out yet to the public, but we got some exciting fixtures that we know the schedule. What are you looking ahead to for next year?
What I always look forward to every year, and that's a season where, first of all, we're highly competitive. A season where we have a team that is playing together as a unit. It's playing for each other. It's playing, for the shirt that they wear. And we go out and we're good enough to be able to play against anyone that's on our schedule. So it's always a challenge, but the goal, very simply, is to win the conference championship and get into the NCAAs. That hasn't changed, and it will not change as long as I'm doing this, regardless of how great of a team we might have. Or we had a poor season last year, which hopefully was a wake-up call for all of us, myself included. And we know why we didn't have a good season, which is important. So knowing where the problems were, knowing what the shortfalls were, it gives us an opportunity that if we all want the same thing, which is to be the best we can be, we know what we have to improve in. We know what we have to change. We know what we have to fix. We know what works. And hopefully, not talk about it, but really step on the field and get it done, starting with the very first game.
Yep. And not to ever put you on the spot or anything, but after coaching here, going to your 44th season next year, I bet you hear this question a lot. But is there time you think about ever thinking of when you're going to end up stopping to coach us or end your time here in Merrimack? Have you ever thought about that? Or are you just focused on the next year each time?
Yeah, so my wife reminds me pretty often, is like, when are you finally going to give it up, especially after last year where typically, my wife and my daughters, when they lived at the house, they would know the second I stepped in the door whether we won or lost, and if they knew that we lost the game, they would disappear. I wouldn't see them for the rest of the night. So I don't take losing very lightly. I'm the type of person that is not able to maybe just say, hey, we lost, we let it go. We'll do better next time. I want to go back and figure out why we lost and figure out how to fix it. So from the perspective of longevity, another season like last year may trigger the potential of retirement. But what I've been saying for a few years now, because I'm obviously at an age where a lot of people ask me the same question. You've done it for a long time, so when do you think you're going to hang it up? And the answer is very simple. There's a few factors that will make that determination for me. From my end, as long as I wake up every morning and excited about having some coffee and getting on the computer and try to figure out what recruits we have coming in, what's going on, doing the stuff that needs to be done on a regular basis, and enjoy doing it. That's obviously that's one of the key factors. Really continuing to enjoy what I'm doing. Obviously having the energy to do it. Because you guys may not see, a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, that coaches, have to deal with. You guys come in, you train, shower, and go eat dinner, do homework, whatever it is that you do. But, we're on the phones, we're on computers, we're doing Zoom calls, we're doing administrative work, all the stuff that needs to be done. So it takes a lot of time, and it does take a lot of effort. So as long as I have the energy and the passion is still there, I have no intentions of calling it quits anytime soon. The other major factor is really on the opposite side, and that's you guys, the players. As long as the players want me coming back, that's the other piece of the puzzle. So
Yeah, and
hopefully it'll be a few more years.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, back to what you just said a couple minutes ago about waking up each day excited to do it. I knew for me, when I really decided to commit to here was literally after the second phone call I had with you. I remember we were on the phone for like 2 hours, and I was thinking like, it's like I was going to boarding school in Connecticut, and I'm thinking like, it's like 9 p.m. We're on the phone, and you're telling me everything I wanted to know about the school. You're very thorough about everything, and I was thinking like, if he's doing this with like guys that are looking to come here, he really cares. I was talking to other coaches that are like, just kind of everything was rushed. They didn't want me there. They didn't want me to come. So I feel like that's something that what I know for my roommates as well on the team and other guys on the team, we all agree on. Like the recruiting process here was just smooth, amazing. And I know players that maybe you recruit that you don't like, you're very blunt with them. And I've had a couple teammates, former teammates that looked into coming here, and it didn't work out, but you were truthfully honest with them. And so I really back you what you said about that. But in terms of everything we talked about tonight, Coach, that's all I had for you. I really want to appreciate you for coming out here tonight.
It's been fun as always. Always loved yapping away about soccer. I mean, the passion is always there, and hopefully we'll always be there. And it's always fun to to do these things. You learn things about each other that perhaps you didn't know. There's probably a lot more stuff that if you dig a little bit more, you might come up with. A lot of things that we didn't touch upon. Some other amazing experiences. That the sport has afforded me. So I wake up every morning and I thank the guy upstairs, for having given me, the direction. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned to you guys, but when I went to BC, I started out in pre-med, thinking I was going to be a doctor. So here I am, 40 years later, 50 years later, and I wouldn't change anything for the world. It's as you get older, you also get wiser. I know it's a cliche, but believe me, it's true. Because when I was your age, I used to think I knew it all as well. And there's so much to life that that you learn through experiences. Through relationships. Through going through some hard times at times. Through excitement at times. But ultimately, it shapes us, into hopefully good human beings that not only, take care of themselves and their family, but are also willing to share their expertise, their knowledge, their passion with young men like yourself. And for me, like I said, winning soccer games, how important that is to me. But making sure you guys graduate and even more important, developing a relationship that helps you guys understand a little bit better what life is all about and get you ready for the real world, whatever that might be out there. That puts a big smile on my face, and that's why I keep doing this.
And like you said, there's a lot of things that we didn't even get to touch upon tonight, but there's also a lot of things that we did talk about that I know myself I learned a lot just by preparing for this and hearing you tonight. And yeah, so it's been an honor for you to come on tonight. This interview will be posted on Kickaball Pod and Tea Time. I'm excited to announce I'll be working with Danny, Malcolm, and Julio. So the Kickaball Pod family is definitely going to be excited to hear this one. I can actually say that this is a college soccer coach legend. So this will be out soon. So thank you guys for listening and watching tonight. Coach, any last words?
Yeah, good luck with your project. I know you're very passionate about this project, as you are on the soccer field, in the classroom, and in your everyday life. Which is part of the reason we brought you here, because I think you represent the ideal young man that I love to have in my program, and obviously taking on new challenges and. Like this project that you're on, it's exciting, especially while you're still a student. It's great to see. So wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, take care.